I've talked a lot recently about the importance of hip hinging for helping your back, how to hip hinge better if you feel like hip hinging does cause back pain. But what I want to talk about now is the complete opposite, because if you've gotten to know me at all, you know I am not an all one way for everybody kind of person. All right, but finding that best approach. There are definitely people that need to not hip hinge. So let's talk a little bit about when hip hinging might be bad, or maybe when you, not necessarily bad, but when maybe you should use a little bit of less hip hinging. Now, the people I typically find that I'm gonna cue them to use less hip hinging are the people that hip hinge for everything. They have gotten really, really good. They're gonna pick up a little toy off the floor and they're gonna hip hinge for that little toy to pick it up, and they're gonna do that perfect hip hinge every time for everything. So when I was talking in the earlier videos about the importance of hip hinging, it's for those mamas that often reach down to pick something off the floor and they always round, and then their back is very sore at the end of the day. So we have two types of responses from paraspinal muscles. We can get that paraspinal muscle stretching or lengthening and then recontracting and then causing tightness by the end of the day, or it may be a little too much hip hinging and those paraspinals are kind of running the show, and quadratus lumborum as well, because they're just kind of always on and always supporting that hip hinge. So what I'm gonna wanna do is get somebody who is maybe hip hinging a little too much and is having trouble rounding, doing a little bit more rounding. So what I want you to do, if you wanna give this a try and you feel safe hip hinging, all right, is to roll down and kind of touch your toes here for me. So what I want you to look at is, are you able to flex your lumbar spine? Or when you try to flex, do you kind of look like this, and then you come all from your upper back and this stays very flat. So if you are someone that that isn't even able to get your lumbar spine into flexion, then that is something we are want to be working on for being able to actually flex your spine, because flexing your spine is also a really, really good thing. But when might we never want to flex our spine, or when it might, I'm not going to say never, but when might it possibly cause some issues? And that's when it's under a heavy load for repeated periods of time. So let's say you decide to move all of your furniture around in your living room, and for every time you pick up a piece of furniture, you round and hunch when your back isn't used to rounding and hunching under load, then you might end up with some angry disc. Maybe not, I don't know. But that would be maybe the time where you want to be a little bit more cautious with hip hinging, is when you're going to pick up something heavy. So find out, does your lumbar spine round? And then one of the things I like to do to work on that, where it's not under a real hard load, a real heavy load, is work on full squatting, because I find full squatting can add a nice distraction to the spine, where it helps lengthen and open, and it can help with a little bit of rounding, and it helps with opening that glute area, opening that deep hip rotator area. And I also like to work it in hands and knees, working on going through that range of motion on your hands and knees, where you can really work on tucking under, rounding the lumbar spine when it's not under a big load. All right, so working on that range of motion and reestablishing that lumbar flexion can be really important for the overall movement of the body.